Two citizens file criminal charges against Lowenfield. CCJ hears Guyana elections case today. Airport reopening delayed. In the region, 72 arrested, 1 dead, as Trinidad police say destabilization plot foiled. And internationally, Russia vote that may extend Putin rule till 2036 enters final day. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I am George Gonzalez. Thank you for joining us. The National Grade 6 Assessment began today with 14,730 students registered to write the exam across Guyana. This examination facilitates the placement of grade 6 learners into secondary schools and will conclude tomorrow, July 2, 2020. Assistant Chief Education Officer Carol Ben said that she visited a number of schools today and was happy to report that schools are in a state of readiness. She said that based on preliminary reports, there was a high attendance of students. Lowenfield may have his day in court again, this time to face 2 private criminal charges in relation to the report he submitted to the Guyana Elections Commission last month. More from Bibi Bacchus.
The Chief Elections Officer of Guyana's Elections Commission, Keith Lowenfield, is facing 2 private criminal charges alleging fraud. The People's Progressive Party through its member Desmond Morian and the New Movement Party through its candidate Daniel Josh are accusing Lowenfield of misconduct in office and breach of the public's trust by providing results of the March 2nd election which he knows to be false. The private charges stem from the Chief Election Officer's controversial decision to discard more than 115,000 votes in his move to come up with a final valid count of the votes from the elections. In the compilation of his final election report, Lowenfield explained that he was guided by the appeal court's decision in coming up with the results showing the valid and credible votes that were cast in the elections. The 2 separate charges against CEO Keith Lowenfield were filed yesterday and could come up for hearing as early as Friday. For Headline News Update, Bibi Bacchus.
Thanks, Bibi. The International Court of Justice on Tuesday asked representatives for Guyana to answer if all other peaceful alternatives for settling the border controversy have been exhausted. The ICJ president said the text of the question would be sent to Guyana as soon as possible, and Guyana would have to send a written reply no later than Monday, July 6. He said Guyana and Venezuela would be advised if the ICJ would deliver its decision on and whether it has jurisdiction to hear the case. Venezuela has refused to participate in the hearings, arguing that the ICJ does not have jurisdiction to rule on the matter. Instead of sending representatives to the ICJ, Venezuela has submitted a 56-page memorandum to the court with some additional material. Stick around. Coming up after the break, airport reopening delayed, and Berbice man dies of alleged self-immolation.
Smart Minds Educational Institute, offering preschool, nursery, and primary levels. Finally, a school that is every parent's dream. Located at 69 Crow Street, offering academic excellence, trained qualified teachers, small class sizes, personalized gear, and one-to-one attention for your little ones. At Smart Minds, register for full-time or evening classes, daily practice pass exam papers for proficiency at the grade 2, 4, and 6 assessment, and CXE exam preparedness, or join our Becca Phonics reading and writing program. So if your child is for preschool, nursery, or primary level, come to Smart Mind, located at 69 Street, or call 231-4885 or 600-9229 to enroll now.
Hurry down to Zasco on 15 North Road between Camp and Wellington Streets. Quality products at low cost for every room in your home. 65 and 55 inches high-stand 4K smart TVs. Samsung French door fridges. Black & Decker appliances, queen and king size Canadian-made mattresses. German-made pressure pots in 5 to 9 liters. 12-piece pot sets, knife sets, cutlery sets and pans, commercial fans. Samsung smart stoves. Canadian-made 3-piece recliner sofa sets. Air fryers and Hamilton Beach hot and cold water dispenser.
Oh gosh, what's this? Me son can't read or spell. Stop! 0 out of 20. Is what I gonna do here?
Hi guys, my name is Ms. Pooja Singh and I'm the Senior Teacher at the Literature After School Program. Due to the spread of the coronavirus and the need for social distancing, we have moved our in-class learning activities to online via Skype. On the online site, we will be focusing on spelling, phonics, reading, and the National Grade 6 assessments. For more information, you can inbox us or call us.
Contact us on 675-4379. I can call them now. Hidden Treasures, discovering gems in young minds.
Welcome back. In response to the increasing number of positive cases in Guyana, the government is delaying the reopening of the nation's airports to international traffic. Chedijagan International Airport was scheduled to be reopened on the 1st of July, today, to limited incoming flights for citizens, permanent residents, international workers, and agencies, as well as diplomats, under a 4-phase reopening plan. However, that has now been delayed until August 1st. In this report, Esther Sobers tells us that the man who allegedly lit himself ablaze in a suspected suicide attempt has succumbed to his injuries.
A laborer who repeatedly set himself on fire on Thursday last has died. He has been identified as 34-year-old of Port Morant, Quarantine, Berbice. He was rushed to the Port Morant Hospital and subsequently transferred to the Amsterdam Public Hospital and admitted in a critical state. He died a day later. It is believed that he had a long struggle with mental illness. According to his wife, he has been recently released from the National Psychiatric Hospital in February after repeated suicide attempts. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. As positive cases of the novel coronavirus once again began to increase, the Ministry of Public Health received the generous donation of 1,120 N95 masks and 15,000 testing kits from the Pan American Health Organization and the Caribbean Confederation of Credit Unions, or the CCCU. The donation of medical supplies is in response to the spike in COVID-19 cases in Regions 1 and 7. Don't go away. Coming up after the break, 72 arrested, 1 dead, as Trinidad police say destabilization plot foiled. And Russia vote that may extend Putin's rule until 2036 enters final day.
Smart Minds Educational Institute, offering preschool, nursery, and primary levels. Finally, a school that is every parent's dream. Located at 69 Crow Street, offering academic excellence, trained qualified teachers, small class sizes, personalized gear, and one-to-one attention for your little ones. At Smart Minds, register for full-time or evening classes, daily practice pass exam papers for proficiency at the grade 2, 4, and 6 assessment, and CXE exam preparedness. Or join our Becca Phonics reading and writing program. So if your child is for preschool, nursery, or primary level, come to Smart Mind, located at 69 Crow Street, or call 231-4885 or 600-9229 to enroll now.
Hurry down to Zasco on 15 North Road between Camp and Wellington Streets. Quality products at low cost for every room in your home. 65 and 55 inches high-end 4K smart TVs. Samsung French door fridges. Black & Decker appliances, queen and king size Canadian-made mattresses. German-made pressure pots in 5 to 9 liters. 12-piece pot sets, knife sets, cutlery sets and pans, commercial fans. Samsung smart stoves. Canadian-made 3-piece recliner sofa sets. Air fryers and Hamilton Beach hot and cold water dispenser.
Oh gosh, what's this? Me son can't read or spell. Stop! 0 out of 20. Is what I could do here?
Hi guys, my name is Ms. Pooja Singh and I'm the Senior Teacher at the Literature After School Program. Due Due to the spread of the coronavirus and the need for social distancing, we have moved our in-class learning activities to online via Skype. On the online side, we will be focusing on spelling, phonics, reading, and the National Grade 6 assessments. For more information, you can inbox us or call us.
Contact us on 675-4379. I can call them now. Hidden treasures, discovering gems in young minds.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. On Tuesday, police in Trinidad said that they had foiled a, quote, well-orchestrated plan to destabilize the country, end quote, and had arrested 72 people as protesters blocked roads and fired gunshots demanding that the officers involved in the deaths of 3 men last weekend by police be brought to justice. The police confirmed that 1 person has died as a result of the protest on Tuesday and said that, quote, investigations are underway to determine the cause of her death, end quote. Local reporters identified the woman as 30-year-old Ornella Greaves, who died while being treated at the Port of Spain General Hospital for gunshot wounds. There was also an unconfirmed report that 1 man also died as a result of the protests. The TTPS said that so far 72 persons have been arrested and others are expected to be charged when investigations are completed, adding, quote, intelligence has revealed that this was an orchestrated plan that was led by several gang members, whereby the intention was to use the shooting of the 3 young men a few days ago as a front to cover the planned plot to shut down the country, end quote. Trinidad and Tobago's Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, in a statement stated that any police officer charged for a violent crime should be removed from the service as, quote, we are expected to be at a higher standard. The United States has registered its biggest daily jump in coronavirus cases since the start of the pandemic. There were 46,000 new infections in the U.S. on Tuesday, but the country's top expert on infectious diseases is warning that number could start to double if people do not follow health recommendations. Dr. Anthony Fauci also said there is no guarantee of an effective vaccine. Al Jazeera's Shihab Ratsani reports from Washington, D.C.
Fauci's been doing.
This was ominous congressional testimony about the spread of COVID-19 in the U.S.
It puts the entire country at risk. We are now having 40,000+ new cases a day. I would not be surprised if we go up to 100,000 a day if this does not turn around, and so I am very concerned.
Dr. Fauci suggested several states were reopening too quickly. Arizona, California, Florida, and Texas are all having to rethink their reopening plans as cases spike. The U.S. still lags in testing, contact tracing, social distancing, and mask usage. White House health advisors bemoaned this in their testimony.
And I'm not satisfied with what's going on because we're going in the wrong direction if you look at the curves of the new cases. So we've really got to do something about that, and we need to do it quickly. Short answer to your question is that clearly we are not in total control right now.
A recurring theme was a lack of concern among sections of the population who refuse to take even minimum protections for themselves and others, and their suspicion of science in general. But senators also repeatedly criticized a president who refuses to wear a mask and has been urging a return to normality.
These 2 parallel messaging operations, and I just think it's worth stipulating that everything we're hearing today is responsible, is based on evidence. But the agencies represented here today have social media followings of about 5 million people. The President of the United States has a social media following of 82 million.
President Trump's opponent in the forthcoming election seized upon similar themes during a speech in his hometown of Wilmington, Delaware.
The president gives no direction, and he pits us against one another. We can't continue like this, half recovering and half getting worse. We can't continue, half wearing masks and half rejecting science.
But in fact, there is now consensus among the Republican leadership that mask wearing should be encouraged, something the White House press secretary said the president has no issue with.
The president has said he has no problem with masks, that he encourages people to make whatever decision is best for their safety and to follow what their local jurisdictions say.
Yet the president is expected at Mount Rushmore on Friday to mark the beginning of the Independence Day weekend. Officially, there will be no attempt at social distancing and masks will not be mandatory. Shia Britansi, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Russians are in the final day of voting on the most sweeping changes to the constitution since the end of the Soviet Union. The amendments would include resetting President Putin's terms in office to 0, which could see him stay in power until 2036. The vote is widely expected to pass, even though many Russians are unhappy with the proposal. Al Jazeera's Charlie Angela reports.
Brewing disobedience. Alexander Konovalov's cafes stayed open during lockdown in St. Petersburg, despite government directives to close. So did his beauty salons, the largest network in the city. Once loyal to President Putin, the businessman has lost his faith. He says coronavirus measures were inconsistent, illogical and unfair, and this vote to change the constitution is the last straw.
I was not just loyal to him. Like so many Russians, for me he was almost an idol. My attitude to the president began to change even before the coronavirus, when they began to introduce these amendments with the reset of his terms. My friends and I have one question. Why did he lie that he wouldn't do this? For many years he said that he would not change the constitution in order to remain in power, and this is exactly what he is doing.
Russians have spent the last week voting on a package of constitutional amendments. The headlines are new benefits, but buried in the text is permission for President Putin to rule until 2036 if he continues to win the votes.
There are many things that I like about these amendments: to protect our territory, to support and restore our culture, children education, social support, animals. I'm happy with the entire package.
On Wednesday, Putin made an unprecedented plea.
We are not just voting for amendments that are laid out in clear legal norms. We vote for the country we want to live in, with modern education and healthcare, with reliable social protection of citizens, with an effective government that is accountable to society. We vote for the country we work for, and we want to pass it on to our children.
The new rules created for this vote are also unprecedented. Exit polls were announced midway and polling stations popped up everywhere, from fields to car parks, making it impossible to ensure the vote is fair or free from tampering. Exposing the flaws in the system, a number of journalists deliberately voted twice, and there have been numerous reports of coercion and vote buying. Putin's approval ratings are at 59%, an all-time low, but analysts say the true figure could be even lower.
When we see a drop in support from 79 to 59% in authoritarian countries, it means that support in society is actually much lower, because the numbers are distorted. We see Putin's charisma is eroding, ratings are declining, but this is not yet accompanied by protests. So support is weak, but there are not so many reasons for the population to rebel.
And yet, they predict amendments will pass, granting Putin the opportunity to rule Russia until he's 83 years old. Charlie Angela, Al Jazeera.
That's all for today's regional and international news. Here is your 3-day weather forecast. That's all for this edition of Headline News Update. Tune in Friday at 6 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Also, visit our website at headlinenewsguyana.com for all the news we can fit in the newscast. Until then, take care.